So think about taking a printed photograph of a landscape and just tearing it right down the middle.
Right, you're ruining the picture.
Yeah, exactly. You only have half the landscape left.
I mean, the left side of the mountain is just completely gone. You're left holding a fraction of the whole thing.
Right. It's simple subtraction. And that is, generally how we expect the physical world to work. But if you take a holographic plate, like a true physical hologram etched onto glass, and you smash it into a million pieces, something completely counterintuitive happens.
Oh, yeah. Because if you pick up just one microscopic shard of that shattered glass and, say, shine a laser through it.
You don't get a fraction of the image, you get the whole thing.
Exactly. The entire original image is perfectly intact. It's just projected from this tiny, seemingly insignificant little fragment.
It completely bends the mind. And today, we're going to take that exact physical property and apply it to, well, your romantic relationships, your dreams, and the literal fabric of the universe. Welcome to the deep dive.
It is going to be a wild ride.
It really is. We are unpacking two incredibly fascinating, honestly, sometimes controversial essays written in 2005 by an author named Shufeng. They're titled Cosmic Holography Parts 1 and 2.
And what makes these essays so compelling is that, they aren't just some dry theoretical physics discussion. The source material takes this concept of a holographic universe and applies it to literally every facet of the human experience.
Yeah, the author is really trying to build a bridge between ancient spiritual wisdom and modern quantum theory.
He really is.
So we're going to take you, the listener, on a journey today from the microscopic structure of human cells all the way out to the edges of quantum mechanics.
Touching on relationship drama and alien weather along the way.
Oh yeah, the alien weather is a fun part. But the ultimate goal of this deep dive is to unpack a radically interconnected worldview that, according to the text anyway, is meant to maximize your personal freedom and your everyday joy.
Right. So to really grasp what the author is trying to achieve here, we kind of have to start by setting the stage with the core premise.
Which is the holographic order, right?
Exactly. Xufeng argues that the universe runs in a holographic order. So it isn't just, dead, inert matter floating around in a vacuum. Instead, it's entirely composed of the distributed psychic energy of the greatest creator, which the text also refers to as Tao.
So it's an inherently spiritual and energetic framework right out of the gate. Like, we aren't just looking at cold equations here.
No, not at all. And that's a crucial distinction. On the macro scale, you have this immense energy filling all of space and time. But on the micro scale, you have atoms, molecules, and, well, us, humans.
Right.
The text argues that we are not just isolated entities bouncing around. We are intimately connected consortiums of structure and energy.
Right.
And Xufeng uses this very specific biological metaphor to ground it all. He says we are literally the cells of the universe.
I really want to unpack that cell metaphor because the author doesn't just leave it at high-level philosophy. The text jumps right into everyday analogies to prove that we live in a holographic reality.
Yeah, and some of them are incredibly visceral.
Like the needle analogy.
That is definitely one of the more grounded examples. The author points out that if you pierce your toe with a needle, the reaction is not just localized to your toe.
Right, you don't just feel it in your toe and go about your day like nothing happened. Your whole body tightens up.
Yeah, your brain immediately jumps into a systemic emergency response.
Your heart rate spikes. And even crazier, if your loved ones are standing right next to you, they will physically jump and react as well.
Exactly. And the text asks, why does this cascade happen? It's because you and your immediate environment operate holographically. Information in one point is instantly available to the whole.
And then the author scales that concept up using technology, right? Specifically the internet.
Yeah, which is interesting because, keep in mind, this was written in 2005 when global internet connectivity was just really starting to feel ubiquitous to everyone.
Right, like dial-up was finally fading out.
Yeah, exactly. The text argues that when you turn on a computer and type in a search, global data streams to your screen instantly from servers all over the world. So the underlying architecture there is holographic in nature.
And from there, it jumps into nature. Like the text points out how people with arthritis can sense rain while the air is still bone dry.
Or how animals can detect seismic disturbances hours before the Earth actually shakes.
Yeah, and it brings up the moon pulling the tides and sunspots directly affecting the rhythms of life on Earth.
So the overarching argument is that the Earth, the solar system, and reality itself are constantly sharing information without physical contact, which the author presents as concrete evidence of holographic principles at work.
I mean, okay, I do have to challenge the logic here a little bit.
Sure, go for it.
The author is equating the physical, biological reaction of a pierced toe, which operates via a very well-understood nervous system, to the way global data works through localized internet routing protocols.
Right.
Is Weffing genuinely saying our biological and emotional connections operate literally like a cosmic Wi-Fi network, or is this just like a poetic metaphor?
No, it is actually meant to be literal within the text's philosophical framework.
Really? Literal?
Yeah, the author is making this big epistemological leap. While modern science explains the nervous system and internet protocols differently, through mechanics, Surfing views all those physical mechanisms as mere symptoms of a deeper underlying energetic reality.
Ah,
The text relies heavily on this core rule. The whole contains all of its parts, and crucially, all of its parts contain the whole.
like the shard of glass containing the whole picture.
Precisely. Let's look at how the author applies this back to the cellular level. So the text states, the human body has 130 trillion cells.
Which is a lot of
A
cells.
staggering amount, yeah. And usually we think of a cell as just a building block, like a brick in a wall. But the author says if you view a single cell with, quote, Buddha's eyes, it isn't just a component. It actually contains a complete human body.
Wait, what does the text mean by Buddha's eyes in this context?
It refers to a state of perception that strips away everyday bias and physical limitation. It's the ability to see the fundamental energetic truth of reality.
Okay, so a spiritual lens.
Exactly.
Oh,
And through that lens, the author claims a single cell possesses the complete energetic blueprint of a human. Like 5 senses, 7 holes, bones, hair, internal organs, all of it.
and if you were to split that microscopic cell,
The text claims you would find an equal number of even more inconceivable cells inside it. It's this concept of infinite regression. It goes right back to that mirror analogy we started with.
right,
Look in a mirror and you see one image of yourself. Break it in half, and each half reflects your complete image. Break it into trillions of pieces.
and every single tiny shard still contains your complete face.
Yes. And the author applies this same logic to botany, actually.
Now,
Like plants. Yeah. If you take a seed that hasn't even been planted yet, the text argues that by looking with Dharma eyes, which is another term for seeing the ultimate truth of the universe, you can already perceive its whole entity.
wow.
You can see the shape of its future leaves and its growth patterns. If you cut a growing leaf in half, the entire energetic image of the leaf is still present in the remaining half. The physical matter might be gone, but the holographic information remains intact.
So we are painting this incredibly vivid picture of a universe where every tiny piece is a perfect mirror of the massive whole. But here is where we take a massive left turn.
Oh, here we go.
Now, the author doesn't just use this to explain theoretical physics or the growth of a leaf. He actually uses it to explain human love lives.
Yes, this is what the text calls the subversive leap. Understanding cosmic holography isn't just some intellectual exercise to hoard scientific knowledge. It is meant to completely reorient how you live.
Right.
The author states that once you grasp this holographic nature, you can understand the teachings of Lao Tzu, Sakyamuni, and Jesus at a glance. It opens up your spiritual perception to a philosophy of ultimate non-attachment.
And apparently, that non-attachment is the cure for romantic jealousy. The text dives deep into the immense distress that comes from romantic love. Specifically, the pain of finding out a partner loves a third party.
Right, which in modern society we generally view as a massive betrayal. The thought process is, your love is false because you gave it to someone else.
Exactly. But according to the source material, that emotional pain only exists because you fundamentally misunderstand the architecture of the universe.
I mean, the author uses cosmic holography to justify loving 10,000 people.
Yes. I have to push back hard on this. How does the text defend this philosophically? Because to a lot of people, this is just going to sound like a very elaborate cosmic excuse for cheating.
It really is a huge leap.
Right. Like, how do you look your partner in the eye and say, don't worry, my love for you is just a hologram?
Well, that is certainly the modern skeptical reaction. But within the author's framework, it makes complete logical sense. It requires returning to the broken mirror.
Okay, lay it on me.
If you break a mirror into a billion shards, your face is reflected completely in every single shard. The reflection isn't diluted, right? It isn't a billionth of your face. It's 100% of your face, a billion times over.
So if we map that onto human emotion,
The author argues that a person can love hundreds, thousands, or billions of people, and their love for each of those individuals remains completely whole, true, and undiluted.
Because love isn't like a pie that gets sliced up into smaller and smaller fractions. It is a mirror that just gets multiplied.
Exactly the point the author is making. The text uses the example of Buddha. It states that Buddha incarnates and rescues trillions of people. Why is that possible?
Because Buddha knows the universe is holographic.
And Buddha's love is holographic.
Yeah.
The text explicitly asks the reader, life is short, why cling to just one? The author claims that if he loves 10,000 women, his love for each of them is still true and complete.
Wow.
And crucially, it works both ways. If he is loved by 10,000 women who also love other men, he states he will gladly accept it, knowing their love for him is wholehearted.
It is literally polyamory validated by quantum mysticism. It's just a fascinating practical application of a very abstract cosmic theory.
It really is.
It essentially argues that romantic exclusivity is an illusion born from a non-holographic fractional mindset.
Yeah, it's a radical form of non-attachment designed to eliminate suffering. And the text doesn't stop at interpersonal relationships. It scales this interconnectedness right back up to cosmic events.
Right, because if we are all connected fragments of this whole, the universe is genuinely, literally alive. Every localized change ripples through the entirety.
Which brings us to the extreme butterfly effect.
Oh, yes. The examples the author lists here are almost poetic, but they are massive claims. A storm on Mars can cause colds on Earth. The death of a whale in the Pacific Ocean can cause grief in the fish swimming in the Nile River.
Or a butterfly flapping its wings in Alaska causes a storm in the Cape of Good Hope.
I mean, Mars storms giving me the sniffles is a bit much. I really struggle to see how the author defends that mechanically.
Well, the author explicitly admits right in the text that this is an extreme and exaggerated expression. He's using hyperbole to make a structural point.
Okay, so it's not totally literal.
Right. Jueving insists that even if exaggerated for effect, these concepts perfectly conform to the theory of cosmic holography. Everything in existence shares the same breath and destiny. And the text emphasizes a crucial point here.
What's that?
The true purpose of learning this isn't just to win scientific debates.
It's about how you utilize that knowledge to actually live.
Yes. The goal is to maximize our freedom, to serve ourselves and others, and to obtain more joy, pleasure, and happiness by aligning with the way of the greatest creator. It is explicitly a philosophy of avoiding unnecessary suffering.
So if we are trying to maximize our joy, we have to look inward. Because if every cell contains the whole universe, that means everything. Literally everything is inside of us, right?
Everything. The text states that the greatest creator, gods, and Buddha are all within us because we are essentially their cells.
Okay.
But importantly, in the exact same way, devils also live within us.
So it comes down to which parts of our internal hologram we activate.
Exactly. It provides a very clear, actionable, moral compass based on this inner universe. When your heart is filled with love for all life in the universe, the text says you take on the character of the greatest creator.
Makes sense.
When you show mercy, you activate the character of God and Buddha. But when your heart is filled with hatred and you're constantly calculating everything just for your own selfish gain,
Then you activate the character of devils because they are all in there just dormant in the cellular data.
that is the consequence of containing the entire whole.
This raises a massive question for me about time.
Oh, time's a big one in this text.
Because if everything is inside us, like all the space, all the celestial and demonic entities, does that include the past and the future? The text makes some very bold claims about prophecy.
It absolutely includes time. Because each cell contains the information of the whole universe, the text argues that by deeply understanding and examining ourselves in the present moment, we can unlock all the mysteries of reality.
So we can look backward and forward.
Yes, we can acquire information about the universe's distant past, and we can sense future changes and trends.
So instead of needing a crystal ball or some kind of time machine, the text is saying that deep meditation or looking inward at our own self is literally a mechanism for remote viewing across time and space.
That is the core argument. And the author actually points to various historical prophetic texts as concrete evidence that cosmic holography is real.
Like what?
The text lists things like Tubei Tu, which is a famous 7th century Chinese prophecy book, sort of akin to Nostradamus. It also mentions Mayan prophecy, Martian prophecy, the Book of Revelations, and Tibetan remote sensing.
Martian prophecy, that is quite a term to just casually drop in there.
I know, right? The source material groups them all together to make a unified point. The argument is that all these prophetic manuscripts prove that individuals throughout history could accurately predict the future or recall images from centuries past.
Not through magic, though.
No, purely because they learned how to access the holographic data already stored within their own cellular structure.
That is wild. It's like we are all walking USB drives containing the entire history and future of the cosmos. If we just figured out how to plug ourselves in and read the files.
That's a great way to put it.
And speaking of plugging in, the text goes even further into accessing different dimensions. It says humans possess the ability to actually see the Milky Way, the Elysium world, the thousand-year world, ultimately making 36-dimensional space comprehensible.
And the proof the author offers for our ability to access these other spaces is something every single human experiences every night: dreams.
Dreams are the proof.
According to the text, yes. The dream world is presented as the absolute, undeniable symbol of holography. Think about it. When you dream, your brain is rendering a reality that doesn't physically exist around your sleeping body.
Right.
The author interprets this as proof that we are living in other spaces simultaneously. Right now, in this waking reality, we are just experiencing one fragment of our holography.
So when we sleep, we aren't just hallucinating random imagery. We are actually tuning into the other dimensional channels of our holographic existence.
Essentially, the text introduces a fascinating framework for this, which it calls the negative self or anti-ego.
Oh, this part is so interesting.
The idea is that based on your current moral state and what you deeply desire in reality, you can actually map exactly where your other selves currently reside in these 36 different dimensions.
Yeah, if you are trying to figure out where your negative self is, the text literally gives you a map. Let's walk through it because it is highly specific.
Let's do it. Let's start at the very top of the hierarchy. If you possess a true Buddha nature, your negative self resides in the Elysium world.
That tracks. Highest spiritual attainment, highest dimension.
Right. Then, if you are actively cultivating yourself to become a celestial being, your negative self is located in the Celestial Islands continent, or what the text calls the 10,000-year world.
Okay, so it's a tier lower, but still a highly elevated state of existence.
Now, here's a very specific one. If you yearn for a free, joyous, and blessed life, but specifically without family relationships, your negative self is in the 1,000-year world.
I want to pause here because notice how yearning for a life without family relationships is what lands you in this elevated 1,000-year world.
It's a very specific criteria.
But that connects perfectly back to the author's earlier defense of loving 10,000 people. It's all part of the same non-attachment philosophy. In many Eastern monastic traditions, leaving the traditional family structure behind is a prerequisite for enlightenment.
Absolutely.
If you detach from earthly familial bonds, you move up a dimensional level.
That is a brilliant synthesis of the text's underlying themes. It is entirely consistent with the author's view on the burden of earthly attachments. Because if we look at the next level down, if you have a deep, abiding love for the human world and its structures, where is your negative self?
Just stay here. Your negative self is elsewhere in the mortal world. You essentially get respawned on Earth.
Precisely. Your attachments keep you tied to the mortal plane. But if your desires get darker, if you enjoy fighting, striving, robbing, seizing power, or what the text refers to as operating by the law of jungles.
Then your negative self is mapped to the animal world.
And finally, if you actively enjoy dark, malicious, and selfish activities, your negative self is currently residing in hell.
So this dimensional map is deeply rooted in spiritual morality. But does the author try to back this up with modern science at all? Or does he leave it as purely theological?
Actually, this is where we see the author's most ambitious attempt to blend disciplines. To justify this negative self-concept, Lifechanyuan actually points to modern physics, specifically Stephen Hawking and his famous book, A Brief History of Time.
Wait, Stephen Hawking, how does the author bridge the gap from standard cosmology to the Elysium world?
Well, the text claims that Hawking theorized an anti-universe populated with anti-humans. But more importantly, the author leans heavily on quantum mechanics, specifically the mechanics of antiparticles.
Okay.
The text points out that in quantum physics, particles and antiparticles, no matter how vast the distance between them, remain connected and respond to each other instantly.
Ah, quantum entanglement, what Einstein famously called spooky action at a distance.
Yes, the text takes this observable subatomic principle and scales it all the way up to human consciousness.
But I have to ask, how does the author justify that leap? Like, quantum entanglement applies to subatomic particles in a vacuum. Applying that to a human personality migrating to a heavenly dimension seems like a massive scientific fallacy.
Well, from a strict physicist's perspective, it is a huge leap. But the author's epistemological bridge is that consciousness itself is the fundamental energetic particle of the universe.
I see.
The text argues that if the universe is truly holographic, then the rules that govern the quantum particles must inherently govern the macro, which is the human soul.
Right, as above, so below kind of thing.
Exactly.
Yeah.
Therefore, every awakened person, what the text calls a Chanyuan celestial, has a negative ego or anti-ego in heaven.
Hmm.
They are quantumly entangled with their higher self.
So the ultimate goal is basically matching frequencies with your anti-ego in the higher dimensions.
The goal is to elevate and refine our consciousness right here in the mortal realm, to bring it into closer alignment with heaven. It's this process of leaving your mortal consciousness behind and allowing your subconsciousness to return to its pure original source.
Wow.
And the ultimate comfort this entire theory provides is about how we face the end of life. Because if the universe is holographic, death is nothing to be feared.
Right, because returning to the mirror analogy, if you smash the mirror, the image reflecting in it doesn't die. It just shatters into a million more mirrors. The information is never lost.
The text states definitively that as long as consciousness exists, we can incarnate trillions of times and project ourselves into boundless infinite worlds. The final overarching realization the author wants the reader to achieve is simply, I am the universe is me, so we can attain Buddhahood.
This has been a massive paradigm shift. We have covered incredible ground today. I mean, we started by looking at the nervous system's reaction to a needle piercing a toe, and we ended up exploring how quantum entanglement might map our souls to different dimensions through our dreams.
It is a vast, vast framework.
It really is. The text asks us to completely abandon the ingrained idea of seeing ourselves as isolated individual biological units just wandering alone through time. Instead, you have to view yourself as a holographic cell that contains the entirety of the cosmos. A cell that is theoretically capable of loving thousands of people without diluting a single drop of that love, sensing weather patterns on Mars through your own emotional state, and living simultaneously in 36 different dimensions.
It is ultimately a call for a complete reorientation of how we choose to live our daily lives. The author actually leaves the reader with a very stark, very direct warning.
What's the warning?
Schueffing points out that for years upon years, humanity just watches the sunrises and sunsets, pacing back and forth, living the exact same way, trapped in the same fractional thinking.
Right.
The text demands to know, is this the time to finally change to a new lifestyle? Because if we refuse, the source material warns that there will be absolutely no end to our troubles and our suffering. We have to embrace the holography to find our true joy.
It really makes you reconsider the weight of your own perspective. Which leaves me with one final lingering thought for you to mull over as you go about the rest of your day.
Let's hear it.
Think back to that shattered mirror we discussed at the very beginning. If this text is right, and every single microscopic part contains the absolute entirety of the whole, then when you learn something new, when you change your perspective and grow just a little bit wiser today, does the rest of the entire universe instantly become just a little bit wiser too?